been struggling, and you actually had a conversation with their coach just about this.
Yeah, basically I talked to Curryshot a little earlier today, and they think that just changing their mindset around a little bit and letting those expectations be different kinds of expectations, not to just win every game, but to expect different kinds of things that are going to build you into a better late season is what they're going to be focusing on for the rest of the season. There's 4 weeks left, 3 weeks of the regular season left after today, so Revival definitely have the time to do it. Unfortunately, they're up against Team Envy this go around, so either it's the best time to try new things and to fix that mindset, because you're not going to be coming in here as the favorites against a team like Envy, or it's one of the worst times because you're going into Team Envy and you might get stomped. As of right now, we aren't seeing that as Revival getting some picks, but Team Envy getting the first pick.
Yeah, and when you're playing these very similar compositions, just a ball on each side, point presence is very, very rare. So you got to take those opportunities when you think you can flip the point. And Envy were the first ones to draw blood here, so to speak. However, they do lose Sharp and Jaru, two of their main damage dealers, in short order. So point could be flipping Revival's way in a moment.
Crimson, though, is going to show up onto the kill feed, and I like to take that opportunity to say how deadly Team Envy's supports can be. Doesn't matter who they're playing, they will show up, and you're seeing it here as Crimson going to get another kill with that biotic grenade. Boger not going to be lasting long. He is going to be replacing Aya Remix on Revival. And, Boger's shown some potential in previous, tournaments. He's been in EU Contenders before, and I actually really like his Wrecking Ball in general, so it's good to see him here, but he's gotta, I think, level up if he wants to compete against the ball on the other side,
Lulsish, and he was one of those two parts that almost single-handedly held that point back.
If he goes through, 4 members are going to be hacked. Hard is going to find that kill, so it's a 65 for Revival. This is an opening that they need to try to get onto at the point. He's going to find a second pick, so Revival should be capping the 65% pretty much for Team Envy. Let's see how long they stall this out if they choose to, but right now the circle is about to be completed by Revival. Team Envy don't really have the people, but Sharp is on the Tracer. We know how good the Tracer can be as he's going to take a kill away from Advantage, and Boger going to die right after casting. The proximity mines need him to cooldown go through. Yes, it did. Team Envy going to try to bring this one back as they do. Jaru getting a kill. He's one of the deadliest Sombras in it. It's all of Contenders, and you're seeing why. You're seeing why Team Envy is so formidable. They were on the brink of losing that outright, but hey, they're like, why not? Let's go ahead and go for this. We're confident.
Yeah, Team Envy never loses their cool, even in these extremely scary moments. That would be palm sweaty, mom spaghetti for any other team. They always have faith in their individual players to be able to stall things out, hold down the fort until the rest of them can get here. And now Sharp is primed, ready with his pulse bomb. He might not even need it against Epps, who is all alone. Oh, that is not where you want to find yourself as an Ana walking alone at night.
Watching Sharp's Tracer has got to be one of the best things that we can see on display. It's just so good, so controlled, and just so intentional. We talk about intent so often, and you have to go in there, make a decision, and kill some people, and that's what Team Envy is going to go ahead and do. And I think Sharp is one of the greatest examples of just knowing your role, being intentional about it, and completing it. And he gets a stick, man. This guy's so good at Tracer.
Finishes it off with a stick. That's like scoring a perfect 10 for the round. And Team Envy clean up Revival. And wow, it actually went, 128. It felt as though Envy was in control the entire time. And indeed, that's how they approach every single one of these fights. So even against, the incredible mechanical skill of some of the players here on Revival, you can never rest. Because, like we saw early on, like a single Lulsish and a Crimzo can hold a point back from a nearly complete Revival team. Everybody on this Envy squad is very skilled at their heroes and more importantly knows what role they need to fill. It's very, it's not very often that you see them getting overconfident, over greedy. But
it has happened.
It has happened, and those are the opportunities that Revival can absolutely take advantage of to swing things on control.
Over the last 3 weeks, the point of contention for Team Envy when they do show weakness is Lulsish dies first. And when it comes to wave check, when it comes to any team that they face so far, at some point during the series, Lulsish just takes a little bit of a back seat and does die first very often. I would say that's one of the things that Team Envy needs to pick, or else they could get upset. And it looks like they're well on their way so far here on Nepal, which is actually a map they have not won, dating, I think, back to last season. season, which is actually pretty crazy to think about, as Revival already losing some members, but Lessard is going to be taken down. Let's see if that's going to ring true. Let's see if Revival are going to be able to finish off any more picks now that Lessard is gone. Elliot unable to really make anything happen in the sky because he doesn't need to, because everything that's happening on the ground is good enough. There's not enough damage to go around. It's just another stick coming in from Sharp, who is still alive. He is so accurate. The one clip are real. He's gonna find another one there. He's so good at Tracer Ham. I can't get over it.
Oh my goodness, Boop. It's a good thing we're all sitting down right now. Revival, again, despite getting that early advantage, taking Lossus out of the fight. You have a Hammond and they don't. You should roll immediately onto the point, but Jaru hacked Boger. He wasn't going anywhere even if he wanted to, and Revival just need to play around this kind of awareness.
I love the EMP there. Jaru does fall, but he takes the two airborne members out of the sky, so he eliminates the air game, makes it all a ground game, and then takes down the bird and the fly in the sky. Team Envy now have 4 ultimates. Elivo, I don't believe, has gotten to a barrage just yet, though his team is compensating for his lack of barrage.
Elivo plays so many heroes. His Pharah is what you might call a utility Pharah. And this is the thing, Revival does have the, one up in the air battle, but Hardest has been kept really from being effective by the rest of Team Envy, and that's kind of what's incredible about the teamwork that we're seeing so far.
They're gonna nano the Tracer.
What is this, Apex?
I know, you don't really see this very often. And he's going to find another kill at the tail end of Banana, so we'll get a little bit of credit. Crimson did contribute to those kills, and Sharp is going to continue to take off the kill steal from Crimson. Is a little cheeky, but in the end, Sharp has been doing so much work for Envy.
A ton of work here. Revival have ultimates, just haven't had the opportunity to use them, and now Hardest, with one of the best ultimates to end the fight, gets hacked. Jaru has been playing this Sombra really well ever since he picked it up at the beginning of the season.
Lessard can go ahead and use the proximity to the ground members. We do have Justice raining from above, but not for long, as Eliva finally getting to Rock Barrage, and no one is on the point!
Oh no!
I know that's the second control map in 2 weeks. Not as egregious as the last one. That was most egregious.
That was
C9
like
I've
a
ever
full
seen.
6-man C9.
This one, a couple of members were gone.
Yeah.
We had some casualties, and the proximity mines were on the point. I get it, but you gotta. I'd like to see that at least go in a little bit longer, as Team Envy are going to take down Revival 2-0 here on Nepal, getting the first win on this map in a very, very long time. So that must feel good. The golden season is still there for them. They haven't lost a map just yet, and Revival are going to have to try to adjust some things once more coming into our assault.
And we've certainly been praising Team Envy a lot so far, and they've showed incredible skill. I mean, this is a team that is... Atlanta Academy is competing for the perfect season, but Team Envy seem to have this in the bag with the way that they've been executing so far. However, it's not to say that Revival is not a great team or that this team doesn't have a ton of potential. I think as a new roster, much like Second Wind in our last series, they just need some time to figure out, what comps are the best for them against the specific teams they're coming up against. Because Apply is a great tracer,
yeah,
right?
But Ham, they're running out of time.
They
right?
are,
we're halfway
running
through
out of
the
time.
season, and you can say that for week 1, you can say that for week 2, and you can say that, I think, for week 3, but now that we're halfway through, these adjustments, I think, are all compensating now. They have already rolled back, I think, in some of their play and some of their, just expectations, I guess, if we're going to bring that back, that now they're playing catch-up as opposed to adjusting on the fly.
It really is catch-up here for Revival, and while the team has, the core of the team, Manitin, Paintbrush, and Epps have kind of been together ever since, Mayhem Academy's inception, but everybody else are new. This is the second week that Revival has been playing with Boger and Hardest, fourth week with Apply, I believe. So, they really do need to pick up the pace, and that's the unfortunate thing, because we know that Apply is a good tracer, very capable here, but we haven't really seen Revival find a usage for him. And a lot of times when we talk about, dominant tracers, we think about, like Sebayobis, Sharp in this matchup right here, Carpe back in the day, but not everybody has the same play style. right? So if you compare a Tracer like Soon to a Tracer like Sabaeolbi, they play very different styles. Soon, famous for not being a dueling 1v1 type of Tracer.
He was the backcap.
Yeah,
Tracer.
exactly. He was all about flanking. He was all about lurking around, looking for opportunities. You have tank busting Tracers. Not everybody has to be diving straight into the backline and one-clipping your Ana, right? So I think, you know, Revival, former Mayhem Academy, really do need to pick up the pace and like finding out how to apply not just their Tracers, but the rest of their players, because right now it just seems like they're not getting as much value as they could.
Yeah, growing pains indeed going through Revival. But, you know, another thing that we talked about, or I talked about with Curry Shot, is just how important mindset is, right? If you're able to adjust your mindset, then a loss doesn't feel as world-breaking as it used to be. And I think they need to get there, because last week was rough. And coming into this week, they needed to change that mindset a little bit. And it's so cool to see these coaches caring about that. I think it's so very important to talk about what your mindset is, because this is a mental game.
I mean, you have your healers, your Brigidas, your off-tanks in-game. These players need a support system out of game as well, and that's where the staff and coaches management come into play. And Revival here on the defense first, going to be running hardest on the Sombra. This is a very popular defense here on Paris. You got all the other components of a Winston Goats. A Team Envy also not going to be going too fancy here. They're going to be running their own Winston Goats, and this is any other team. Oh well, they're just going Ghosts, but this is not just any team. This is Team Envy, so Revival need to be staying on their toes. Hardest needs to be farming this EMP like quickness. And
he's doing just that already at 60% onto that EMP, doing very good work. But Team Envy has shown, and there's going to be a lot of but anytime something great happens to Revival in the past, Team Envy has shown that they're able to rebuff exactly what's going on, including these EMPs from the Sombra. Dating back to last season, Team Envy was definitely one of the best at rebuffing EMPs, but Artist is still very close to his, and Team Envy are falling by the wayside as Ellivo got Team Meg very early on in this fight on the attacking side and will have to come back from spawn. But everyone else just taking that damage. Crimzo Jaru very close, but no actual other casualties just yet.
Yeah, a great first fight for Revival here. They have the tools. Now, it was actually quite a long fight as well. Nobody taking a casualty for quite some time, so Revival have the time now to farm up to that EMP, farm up to that rally, and those are the defensive ultimates that are going to hold them against a Team Envy.
They're going to throw that Nano. Hardest is going to throw the EMP. This is everyone except Sharp and Jaru. Jaru's going to find that kill onto Hardest, puts himself out of position because he took the kick into the EMP. The D-Mech is there. Big bio coming in from that. He's actually had pretty good Paris so far. Fly getting a return pick, so this is a 5v5 so far here on Paris. With the down barrier from Team Envy should be keeping them in this fight, along with Voltage and that Primal Rage. Where do you focus? Where do you take the damage? Sharp is going to be investing the Graviton Surge as well, which Vantage does escape from. It seems like most people do escape from that Graviton Surge, but look at where this fight is taking place. It's going to give Envy some progress, but without their main tank, Voltage is going to be very hard for them to potentially maintain. But checking in on these HP bars, Revival are going to be having a hard time maintaining those as well. So Ellivo's going to throw a very short self-destruct out, and Sharp going to take advantage of the lax shield after the self-destruct and rain down to Fly. Transcendence is coming in just in time. Team Envy, this has been pretty much just 2 fights, but Team Envy still coming out on top, even though Ellivo is down.
Ellivo is down, but Boger wants this fight to go on a little bit longer, but he's not going to have the support of his Ana. Lulzish comes back into the fight and really makes a splash here, taking down the backline of Revival. So despite Boger's best efforts, Revival will be giving this up. And the fact that Lulzish went so far, so deep into Revival's backline, essentially taking that fight halfway to B, that's one of kind of those instances of overextension, overconfidence. He gets hacked and taken down.
And it was Lulzish, right?
Right? And it was, yes, it was Lulzish, but the unfortunate thing, and this is where Revival kind of need to pick themselves up by their bootstraps, is with that advantage, you have to make something of it, because if you give them enough time, I mean, respawn's only a few seconds.
Revival going to be on the defensive side. They have the EMP, which is great news because Sharp was able to develop another grab during that fight. These fights last so long that they are able to get multiple ultimates in the process. And now Sharp going to try to find some value out of this grab. They have a Transcendence for Maniton's grab that is going to be coming in on very, very shortly. Voltage is packed. They'll have Primal Rage, and Team Envy are going to be walking into the second place with some good opportunities. EMP goes out. 4 people are EMP. Voltage is going to be able to get that Primal going. Boger going to be saved by that barrier from his Zarya. Sharp going to throw that Graviton Surge late into the fight. That's going to be pretty good for them as the Graviton Surge coming in the other way, but Jaru going to find that initial pick onto Manitin as Team Envy find that 6v5. Strawberry though trying to keep the point alive for Revival. One pick hasn't been taken by Envy just yet. Sharp going to get swept, but Lolfish getting the pick onto Boger, who's been dying first pretty frequently so far. Crimzo going to continue his deal-making, I think, with the Devil by being such a good fragger on Zenyatta. That makes sense, but Anna left snap, that doesn't. Revival now losing members slowly but surely. Team Envy will be taking this point. We on Paris. You know, the crazy thing about what Team Envy is doing right now is Elio's actually had a rough game.
It hasn't been the hottest.
Yeah.
I mean, compared to his historic performance.
Yeah, Mr. Consistency, right?
Yep. And so it does go to show that Revival has been giving, Envy a bit of a tough time. They haven't just been able to walk over this team that is, even in week 4 still rebuilding. Although the confidence is still there. I mean, Crimzo firing volleys. I just love watching confident Zens because you don't really see Zenyatta's face tanking that often. But if you have the confidence to go for it, you have the aim to back it up.
Supposed to be.
It's most of the times it's because I'm already dead as Zen. But yeah, Revival showing some pretty good looks here. They definitely ran a couple circles around Envy on their initial defense. And I think something else that's definitely worth pointing out is they seem to prefer putting Hardest on the Sombra, a DPS player on the Sombra, and swapping Manitin, their off tank, onto the Zarya, which is, a look that we've seen more and more teams picking up. But again, another consideration for this squad that is rebuilding. In terms of this defense, though, we haven't seen this as much. Defense Doomfist can certainly work and has been popular with some teams, mostly just XL2. But Hardest, we know him to be a very capable Doomfist player, and I'm excited to see what Apply can do, here with the Widowmaker on an assault map.
Anytime I see Widowmaker, I'm excited to see what that Widowmaker could do, because it's either going to be absolutely nothing or it's going to be what? Right?
Yeah.
And even Thrill, even though Second Wind lost the last series, Thrill gave them those opportunities. The Widowmaker can change the tempo of a fight immediately, can take momentum away. Survival not going to be using this as Doomfist as they see Sharp on the Bastion. That's going to be a tough go of it for the Doomfist out there, unless you Meteor Strike, and usually you're Meteor Striking to join the rest of your team and go to safety, rather than asserting yourself and getting those kills. The Fly going to be switching over to the Hanzo, which has been a good look for him in the past. This double projectile is pretty cool. Hardest to Fly on Pharah and Hanzo.
And this is also a great comp to shred shields as well. Hanzo's Stormbolt, a great way to force the Orisa out of position. But Team Envy here running with the double main tank. This is a look that they've shown very often. They have Lolfish and Jaru essentially free-ranging away from the Bastion bunker. Oh, but sometimes it only takes one hook and Manitin finds it.
That's how you do it. That's how you break through. Sharp unable to stay alive. Doesn't matter where the immortality field was because you got hooked, and that can't happen if you're playing it this time. A mistake coming in from Team Envy is a gift for Team Revival, as that's also going to have the amplification matrix. Team ahead in terms of damage production. He's going to go ahead and throw that down, and Team Envy are just running for the hills right now as they're waiting for the rest of the team to come in, but they're trapped in this room.
Yeah, this is a really tough place to lead. They don't have a Mercy either with Fire on the Baptiste, so no free do-overs, but they're not going to need it. Oh, man! You cannot give Envy any time. You can never let up the pressure, or this is what happens. Sharp comes back in. He died on the Bastion. He's back on the Tracer 3 times better.
Team Envy, never out of it. This has become a staple for them. They are, by far, maybe other than Atlanta, the grittiest team that we have, especially in this group. Never say never when it comes to this team, because Sharp just got on Tracer, and I know it's fast to get to Pulse Bomb, but he's already there. That's just showing how much value he's doing. ENT goes through, hits almost everybody on Revival except for Paintbrush. Manitin already taken down. Sharp going to stick that Pulse Bomb, isn't going to be able to kill that Orisa. But in the end, I think that Sharp's presence can be a big deal, but his presence has been taken off the field. That's a really big deal coming in from Revival, as Boger's Supercharger definitely is helping with that, and they are going to be able to take the Immortality Field away too. There's a long cooldown that's going to be unavailable for Team Envy. We've seen this before, almost exactly. Team Envy came right back, and I think this is exactly how it happened last time with Jaru also getting some kills with Elivo on the Orisa. They do like running this double main tank on Paris, bringing them right back. Picks a revival, but in the end, a win for Envy.
Yeah, that's called winning the battle, but not the war, my friend. Is Elivo an Orisa main? Like, I thought we only had one Orisa main, and his name was Cameron. But regardless, Envy, with this very unique double main tank composition, are going, this is just really dispiriting for Revival and any of their fans. 60 seconds left, so you gotta go for the hope you can get a Zarya ultimate. You can carry that into point B. That's the good news with the GOATS comp. It's very consistent as long as you just give it enough time. But Envy have more than just time. They have a Nano and a Lotus hungry to use it.
Yeah, he's going to develop a ton of Primal Rage because the path that Revival can choose to take. The Nano goes through from Epps, but already Maniton is a team mech. You're not going to have that available. There's a ton of projectile that can come through. That's Elivo, Sharp, and Jaru getting all of their damage into the team. Voltage getting that Primal Rage very quickly as well. This has been Team Envy on the defense. It hasn't been all Team Envy all the time, as Revival has got two-man advantages at points, but unable to get to the objective and take it. Not even a kick so far. As Envy's going to have a 15, and with less than 10 seconds left, EMP is arguably the strongest ultimate in the game. Sharp is still on it. This Tracer gonna have to rewind to make sure that he doesn't die. And he can just go ahead, and I think leak it a couple times, get that pulse bomb in. He's got the EMP, and now he can go through with that pulse bomb, take some names, doesn't even need to. His Fire and the rest of the Team Envy are gonna hold on point A against Revival. Team Envy not dominant, really. This hold is, it's hard to describe what happened, right? Because Revival were competitive throughout a lot of these fights, but they just couldn't finish it off.
Yeah, and I think it all comes down to the fact that they're a new team, and at this point, it's not necessarily an excuse; it's more of an explanation, because they give Envy so much time, eons in Overwatch time, where a fight can be over in 10 seconds, right? And every time they had an advantage, every time, say, they forced Immortality Field, they shattered the shield. They shattered Elivo's shield and forced them, to move off of wherever they wanted to be. Then they just sat back and waited. It was as if they weren't really sure if maybe Envy's just going to give this up. You got to go. You got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing. But it seemed like Revival, whether because they're working with some new players or just maybe not used to this unique comp that I think so far, Envy is really the only team that has run Winston and Orisa together like this. They just didn't know what to expect. And when you don't know what to expect, it's really hard to make a decisive decision. And in those, 10, 15 seconds that Revival gifted to Envy, then they turn it around. Never, ever count out Jaru. Never count out Lulsish, and never count out Elivo. The tanks, right, that you would expect to see coming from a mile away. And you hear a Hanzo, trying to figure out where you're going to be firing your next shots from. And suddenly there's a giant monkey on top of you, and he's nanoed, and he's angry, and your supports just died, right? And so that's just kind of like the thing with Envy. It's like you always got to be striking first and with decision. And that's what makes it so hard to come up against them.
I think there's a little bit of, I think sometimes when it comes to these dominant teams, you respect them so much, right? That you let them control the tempo. And the times that Revival were able to get it on, they didn't do anything with it, right? They got those 2 picks and then wanted to get more, as opposed to trying to move the fight onto the objective, which Envy, I think, was trying to do anyway. So they could have gotten everything that they wanted while also giving them maybe a better opportunity to finish off the team. Got to give credit to Elivo on this Orisa, being able to protect the remaining 3 members behind him on the shield until Sharp was able to come back on that Tracer. And something that we have to give credit to is the meta shifting. I think that's a big reason why some of the teams that we expected coming in here to be potentially playoff caliber, Square One comes to mind, Revival's coming to mind, and those aren't the only 2 that have been affected by the meta in, I think, a way that causes them to struggle a little bit more. But they're on the top is Team Envy, who've adjusted very, very well. This meta shift has definitely given this season of Contenders a new kind of look, and that's been awesome to see as well. But that's going to be it for us for this first half so far, as Envy are up 2-0 against Revival. Revival are going to take the next 6 minutes, hopefully, to adjust some things and maybe take the uptick against Envy. Let's see in 6 minutes.